King David trust the
They go on
Lord.
one raid. They come back, and again, this is after 10 years of problems. This is what they find in their little town they finally have built. Now, in 1 Samuel 30, 1 through 3. Now, when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day, the Amalekites had made a raid against the Negeb and against Ziklag. They had overcome Ziklag and burned it with fire, and taken captive the women and all who were in it, both small and great. They killed no one, but carried them off and went their way. And when David and his men came to the city, they found it burned with fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. You see, absolutely everything was destroyed in their little town of Ziklag. They had lost everything. This was all they had after 10 years of wandering. They had this one little town, and now even this was gone. David was at his lowest low. His family had been kidnapped. All his men's families had been kidnapped. Everything they owned, taken. And then it still gets a little worse. Verse 6, 1 Samuel 30. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because all the people were bitter in soul, each for his sons and daughters. David is at his lowest of lows. David is at his worst moment. And then finally, these 600 men that David raised up, these 600 men David believed in when nobody else did. What happens with even this 600? They speak of stoning him. They finally turn against David. Now David has truly no one, even his little group of men. They now decide, let's stone David. This is the point in the story when David should have given up. This is the point in the story when anyone would have said, this is ridiculous. I can't go on anymore. God has forsaken me. I give up. But what does David do? End of verse 6. It says, but David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. The New King James. David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. You see, at his lowest of lows, when David had been beaten down, mistreated, and now finally lost absolutely every last shred that he had, David encouraged himself in the Lord. And that's such a lesson for us. To be like David at our lowest times, encourage ourselves. Psalm 42 and verse 5, the psalmist, it could have been David who wrote this, speaks to himself. Why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation. The psalmist says, why are you cast down, O my soul? Why are you in turmoil? Hope in God. He speaks to his own soul. He tells himself, here in our lowest of lows, here in our worst moments, we're going to encourage ourselves in God. We're going to say, I hope in God. I trust in God. That was the attitude of David, and that's the attitude that ultimately led him to victory. So easy to give up at this point. Everybody else probably would have. It's amazing to think that David chose one more time to strengthen himself in the Lord. David chose one more time to encourage himself in God. And David's about to have his greatest victories, which we'll start looking at tomorrow. But in the lowest of lows, David said one more time, hope in God. You know, it's like the quote from the man in the concentration camp. He said, they can take everything from you. One of the victims of the Holocaust. They can take everything from you, but they can't take your attitude. And you see,
Trust in Jesus.
so much from us, but it can't take away our decision, our response to say, Lord, I strengthen myself in you.